All honor, glory, and praise be to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Waha, Rakakwadash. As always, Shalom to the hopeful elect, scattered amongst the earth, starting with our elder apostles, over the great millstone church, and down to all you great brothers in the faith, pushing the truth, seeking the kingdom of heaven, and enduring in this wicked world until kingdom come. And likewise, Shalom to all of you repentant Israelites out there who are likewise seeking the kingdom of heaven. And this gonna be a quick message, and it's just inspiration through inspiration. Just from events that just sort of took place. Just in life today, and this truth is all about showing and proving. And understanding we are all in a certain place in our walks and knowledge, and everyone has different measures. Everyone has different talents. Everyone has different positions that the Lord has put us in. And as always, when I say us, I'm speaking to you Israelites, which are so-called black people as we are called or known as today here on this earth. So-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American, Indian people who are scattered amongst the earth, and that'll be according to your father's lineage. You're delineated as an Israelite according to your father's side of the family. So what your father is, that's what you are. So if your father is of one of those groups or um, nationalities, if you will, that I just laid out, you're an Israelite. And this message is to you, and namely to those of you who are in this truth, on this walk, in this path, and you are coming into this knowledge. So let's come here real quick to the book of Isaiah, chapter 33. In verse 6. We'll be patient real quick. See, this thing is, if you will, working against me right now. And patience is a fruit of the spirit, so we'll be patient with it. Because nonetheless, it's a message to go out. But as the scriptures tell you, for it's not the course, so I try to just go back to where I was just at. Or maybe it's working now. Yep. So Isaiah 33 and 6, it says, "In wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times." So it's about wisdom and knowledge in this path that we're in. We are to be on the straight gate, and that straight gate leads into life. Right? There's no other path. That straight and narrow way is following the command of thus said Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, thus learning these scriptures and walking uprightly accordingly. And ultimately, contrary to this current world, we know the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked being the nation of Edom, the Esau Edomites, the so-called white man as he is called or known as today. So knowledge and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of our times. So standing on this wisdom and knowledge is what's going to uphold us in these times we are in, which is the end of the last days of this world. This world is this time period on this earth. All right? And it's the earth in the hands of the so-called white man. So we got much tribulation that's in front of us. Everything's polluted, but we stand on the truth because it's going to hold us down at times. And that's what you have to do. You have to hold on to your wisdom, no matter what the world says or how contrary the world is to this understanding, to your belief, to your knowledge, your wisdom, and we carry this on in our everyday walks. So it's not about just being, if you will, in the scriptures all day. Moreover, with a book in hand, because you're in the scriptures all day, every day, because these scriptures speak about life. But in our daily goings, the challenges we face when we are in the world using it and not abusing it, but we have to hold on to our to our faith. For us, the scriptures tell us to agree with thy adversary quickly. So when you in the way of the adversary, you agree. And that wisdom proves itself when you use it. So you continue using it and you hold on no matter what somebody say. You go online, you see Jake or people, period, arguing with the police. what is the fifth, pleading the fifth, Fifth Amendment, you got the right to remain silent, and then they get knocked upon the head. Or they might actually be successful with it. We don't try that because we know this truth. And we move according to thus said Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. So on and so forth. We don't we don't eat pork. We know wisdom. I mean, them simple ones. We not here killing, we not here stealing. And it goes on this further because really, the example at hand was just something of using the world, which in the world we remain as we are in this truth. If we training towards doing something and we putting forth our effort, just say we was weightlifting. You trying to get some gains. You got a weightlifting regiment, and that weightlifting regiment ultimately brought forth you gains. You got a few muscles, you got stronger, you got a little size put on you. And that regiment is, something you got to do repetitiously over and over again, and you got to stick with it. And through doing that, you got the gains. So that's just how this knowledge and wisdom work. It's just stability. So you hold on to it and you always apply it. And it's always going to be the thing that works for you. You know your measure and you stay within your measure. Again, we all are Israelites, but we all have different measures. We all have different lots. We all have different abilities. One man esteemeth one day over the other. That don't make him wicked. The scripture says, all things are lawful, but all things are not expedient. So you have to just obtain and hold on to the wisdom that was given to you, the wisdom that the wisdom that works. Because it all works if it's good, but again, within the realm the Lord has given you. So you have to, you gotta fight to keep your wisdom, and that's a quote from, my brother Shariat. Is something he said earlier, and it's something that stuck, and it's ultimately what inspired this message, and the events that preceded it, which is why it was said. So 1 Samuel 17, in verse 20, it says David accepts the challenge. And what was that challenge? To go and slay Goliath. See, and David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with the keeper and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to the fight and shouted for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. So ultimately, this is David versus Goliath, and ultimately that's what goes forth to happen. David kills Goliath as it's headed here. But the message and the point that I want to get here is what David did before he went and met with Goliath. He made a decision in wisdom that applied to him and his measure, and him understanding that he had to fight to keep his wisdom and not put himself in a position where he would fall. So 1 Samuel 17:31, we go read through. It says, and when the words were heard, which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail him because of him, talking about Goliath. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. So David had all the confidence in the world, and it was due to things that he had experienced in the past. So he was prepared for the moment, and he knew his own strength. He knew where his own strength was at. So he was confident moving forth, seeing that he can go slay Goliath. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. So Saul, he didn't think David could ultimately complete the task, but he didn't know what David had been through. He didn't understand the training, if you will, the measure, the things David had experienced that made him have confidence that he can go and slay Goliath. In verse 34, and David said unto Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. So David himself was a warrior. He's like, and I slayed things bigger than these men, dangerous animals, lions and bears. So, what is this Philistine in front of me? And he gets more clear. It says, thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he had defied the armies of the living God and the Lord. And ultimately, David knew the Lord. David understood that the Lord was going to fight with him and fight for him. because he believed, he had faith, strong faith. David said, moreover, the Lord, Yahweh, that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And to believe and know the Lord will fight for you is wisdom. Meaning you upright and you doing the will of the Lord. And you know you fighting accordingly in truth and faith and in sincerity. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord Yahweh be with thee. And Saul armed David with his armor, this the point. And he put a helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail. So Saul gave David some battle gear. And David girded his sword upon his armor. And as he essayed to go, meaning he held back from going forth to go beat up with Goliath. It says, for he had not proved it. It's the point. David didn't prove that battle gear, so he didn't trust it. He didn't know it. So he stayed within the realm of the knowledge and understanding of what he had, what he knew. So he stayed within the parameters the Lord put him in. He's like, I never wore this, so I'm going to stay here where I know I'm at. So he took it off. It says, and David said unto him, Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off of him. So he took them off. And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and he put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand, things that he proved, things that he walked with every day, things that was tested, the knowledge that he knew. You know, he didn't go outside of his measure. He didn't try to go above his measure and put on something that, you know, seemed to work. He knew it worked, and he stayed with that. You know, it takes wisdom to do that. It takes true faith to understand that that you got something and you know it. Knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of thy times. You know, everybody's not going to have everything. Everybody's not going to have the experience that the next brother have, the next Israelite have. But what the Lord gives you is what you use. And it takes integrity, to fight for your wisdom, fight for wisdom, and we go close out with that. And on the book of Sirach, it says, verse 40, and he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even the scrip, and his sling was in his hand, and he drew near the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near to David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. So simply put, David went forth to the Philistine with what he had, battle tested, what he trained with, what he knew worked, and he stayed with what he understood. And that's a strong feat right there. Fight to keep the wisdom that you have. You always apply it. It's the stability of times. That's what's going to bring you forth to salvation. That's what's going to allow you to endure. And you even do so unto death. Because at the end of the day, we'll close it out here in Sirach 4 and verse 28. It says, strive for truth unto death. Because even sometimes in this wicked world, the truth will be looked at as if it's nothing, as if it's not right. But as long as you know it's truth, as long as you know it's true wisdom, as long as you know it's of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai does say, you're going to be correct. And it says, strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee. And David was ready and willing to do that. And that's what he went forth to do when he fought Goliath. And as we understand, according to history, he slew him, chopped his neck off. Little boy going against a giant, decked in armor, so on and so forth. But it wasn't a match because David stayed within his realm of wisdom, his realm of knowledge and understanding, which allowed him to stay stable in the midst of a battle. And he knew that he was able to do so because he proved it. He fought lions and bears, So strive for truth, for the truth unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee. So fight to keep your wisdom, man. Lord willing, this is something useful, edifying, and to you listeners out there, you true believers. But until next time, shalom.